with the most breaking news of the Patriots offseason, and that is that special teams coordinator Jeremy Springer is going to return to the team in 2025, notably in the same role as well. Not that he would have taken a demotion necessarily, but we know the connection that Mike Vrabel has with Tom Quinn, which we'll get to here. Feel like there's a pretty good chance that he remains on staff. Springer was great this year. They really flipped and revamped that special teams unit. Brendan Schooler goes from a serial penalty creator last year to an all-pro first team NFLPA, AP, and today comes out as the PFWA's first team all-pro special teamer. So done a great work with him, and he is going to return in 2025. So Tayler, your thoughts on retaining Springer? Do you think it was the right decision? Do you think they should have went elsewhere, or ultimately did they make the right move? And just your thoughts on him returning in 2025.
Definitely, I think the right move, because he took a unit that was one of the worst in the NFL when he got there and turned them into a group that was much closer to the top of the middle of the pack. And not only that, but what he got out of rookies, where Marcellus Dial was immediately the guy who essentially replaced Matthew Slater as the gunner opposite Brendan Schooler. You also had Del Pettis, who Jeremy Springer actually called out because I think it was Los who tweeted about him. And then Jeremy Springer pointed out, like, he was the quarterback of the punt team from day one as a rookie, an undrafted free agent rookie. Extremely impressive there. So what he was able to get out of those rookies, the fact that Marcus Jones, it's easy to kind of forget because he got hurt and wasn't there towards the end of the season, but he had an excellent season as a returner, might have been voted to the Pro Bowl himself, I think, if he'd actually been able to finish the season and stayed at the front of people's minds. But obviously, when you go down and you're a returner, it's a kind of role where there's usually like a handful of deserving candidates, and sometimes it comes down to who can just be on the field the most on top of making the biggest impact. So, yeah, I love the idea of Jeremy Springer coming back. He was always great when we spoke to him. We always talked about how Alex Van Pelt was probably the best coordinator coach that we got to speak to on a regular basis, but Jeremy Springer was right up there. The amount of insight he's able to bring in perspective, the relationship with Brendan Schooler, I think, is significant. He's known Schooler since he first got to college. So they have a connection. Like, I think Schooler also knows Schooler. Oh my God. Brett Springer knows Schooler's brother. There we go.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So they're obviously not a reason you keep somebody, but that's a pretty cool connection there because Brendan Schooler is going to be there for the long haul. And Joe Cardona, even the fact that he had a handful of tackles for the first time in his career, and we found out it was because that in other seasons he wasn't allowed to go downfield and make tackles, which is pretty funny. So maybe we get a Pro Bowl season out of Joe Cardona next year. Who knows? But yeah, I think one of the best moves and one of those obvious moves it felt like in terms of potential retentions was to keep Jeremy Springer, him plus Tom Quinn. Looking forward to what happens next season, how they can continue to grow.
Yeah, 3 first-time coordinators in AVP, Covington and Jeremy Springer. I would say Springer definitely made the most of his chance, I guess. AVP also up there. We know what he did with Drake May. We'll get into him and his potential involvement in the offense as we move forward in the show. But yeah, good on Springer. I think, like you said, the one that made the most sense. It doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense to bring AVP back or for him to come back in a reduced role. Same goes for DeMarcus Covington, but this one, good unit, one that really flipped since last season. So good stuff for Springer there